Hello, my name is Dakota, or as my shirt would tell you, Gideon Graves. I first adopted the Gideon Graves logo as my own back in 9th grade when I first saw Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. I saw a lot of myself in Gideon Graves, and also a person I'd like to be. He was charming, handsome, intelligent, but above all else, he had a compulsive desire to control the woman that he loved with violence. But we're not here to talk about my past relationship problems. We're here to talk about references. Today's reference is brought to you by The Legend of Zelda. I was wearing this shirt in a recent video that I watched. You may have seen it, you may not have, because there's only 2 people who actually watch my videos. The reference being made was, at the very end of the video, I said, "But that's a topic for another time." You see, I'd like to hide little references in my videos if I can, but see, I can only do that if I have intention to make another video later on. And as you can see by this very well illustrated chart here, I did plan to make the Twilight Princess video back when I made the Snake video, so I was able to hide that little reference in there with the Legend of Zelda shirt and the mention of the Legend of Zelda at the end of the video. But today's reference is my spiky hair, because shortly after I made the Shadow the Hedgehog video, I found this little McDonald's toy, and I wanted to talk about this. I would throw it at the end of the Shadow the Hedgehog video, but fuck it. I'll give a little extra bonus to watch all of my videos for little hidden incentives. So today's little hidden incentive is this Shadow the Hedgehog McDonald's toy. So we're going to make this into a gameplay video, real quick, if you can consider this a game. So I really like how... You motherfucker. You, Omega, you motherfucker. I am the ultimate life form. You do not fucking fuck with me. But I like how Shadow has these 3 different animations. But yeah, it's pretty simple. You just move left and right and hit the puck button. Now, why did they choose to make Shadow play ice hockey with Omega? Well, if I remember correctly, Omega is a character in Sonic Heroes and is on the Dark team with Shadow and Rouge. As for why they're playing ice hockey, I have literally no idea. Anyway, the purpose of me playing this little game is to say, Sega, when your fucking canon is so bullshit that a fucking McDonald's toy has a more canonical appreciation for the character than your mainline series Sonic Boom, what the fuck are you doing? But enough about that. Let's talk about today's topic. And as the title told you, Twilight Princess is the best Zelda of all time. With an asterisk. And I'll get to that asterisk, don't you worry. Yeah, I'm not gonna stay in this for the whole video. It's far too hot. Guess I need the red tunic, am I right? Before I get out of this hero's tunic, there's one very important thing I need to say. This here is ZorZelda. This video that you're watching right now wouldn't be possible to the extent that it is if it weren't for ZorZelda. ZorZelda is the MVP of this video. He or she, I don't really know, did a Let's Play of The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess on the Wii in such quality, with no commentary, mind you, that I was able to use that footage for this video. And for that reason, he is getting a personal shout out in the video that I am making. I will do my best to not use too much footage, but I need to use enough to prove my point. ZorZelda. So everybody watching this video, do me a favor and go subscribe to ZorZelda. He's actually making more content as we speak. The most recent thing he's posted is from 2 days ago. So please go subscribe to him, watch his content, watch the ads, make sure he gets money because YouTube is, of course, in an ad crisis right now. And I wouldn't be able to make this video if it weren't for ZorZelda, because I can't tell you, I really can't tell you how many dozens of minutes, how many scores of minutes, how many half-hour segments I spent looking for a Twilight Princess Let's Play with no commentary. It was almost impossible. And I was going to use this one girl's Let's Play footage, Mesa Anale, and I was just going to mute her out, which I think might be illegal, to take somebody's Let's Play footage and mute them out to put your own over it. And, you know, I was going to do the same thing that I'm doing now for ZorZelda for her, but then I stumbled across ZorZelda, and the quality is so great. And I mean, Mesa Anale, you're great, it's just your commentary isn't very good, and you talk over pretty important parts. So I'm sorry, but ZorZelda is the MVP here. Now, there are some other YouTube videos that I'm using that aren't just, like, not every clip that you see is from ZorZelda. So, as always, this is in the description. This is in the description. Do you get it? Cool. Look, guys, it's the Twilight Arachnid, armaGohma. Before I can even begin to make my case for why Twilight Princess is the best Zelda game of all time, I first have to establish some fundamental facts. Facts that are undisputable and everybody can agree with. Number 1. Everyone loves The Legend of Zelda. Everyone. From the angry video game nerd to Aaron Hansen / Egorapter of Game Grumps and Sequelitis, to Dan Avidan of Ninja Sex Party and Game Grumps, to Pro Jared, to JonTron, to Gerard the Completionist, to Peanut Butter Gamer, everyone loves The Legend of Zelda. Everyone who has ever played a Legend of Zelda game made by Nintendo has not walked away from the experience thinking, man, I really wish I had done something else with my time. I would go so far as to say you cannot find me a person who hates the Legend of Zelda series. I'm willing to bet that you cannot find me one person who actually thinks that the entire series is bad. Rule number 2. Everyone is entitled to their own opinion. This is basically my way of squirming out of any squabbles where people will say, oh, well, I think you're wrong because I think this game is the best game. Well, you're more than welcome to, but I'm putting my effort and energy and time into making this video because I so adamantly believe that Twilight Princess is the best Zelda game. You're more than welcome to make a video of your own, explaining your own points. Okay, so those first two rules were pretty easy to understand and follow. I don't think I've lost anybody yet. But this third rule is going to be very confusing, so I need you all to pay very close attention. Because unfortunately, this third rule is disputable. In fact, it's been a major dispute in the video game community for the past 20 years. And in order for me to move on to the actual Twilight Princess part of this video, I'm going to need you all to either accept this third rule, acknowledge this third rule, understand this third rule, or at the very least see this rule from my perspective, or the perspective of people who believe in this rule. I'm going to try, in the very short time I've allotted for this rules section, to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the story is the most important part of a video game. Yes, that's right. I play The Legends of Zelda for their story, not their gameplay, not their dungeons, not their puzzles, not their sense of accomplishment, for their story. I can already hear you commenters laughing. I know this won't stop their laughing, but it may stop those of you commencing composure of your compelling counter-comments. I would like to direct you to the asterisk at the end of the word game. Assuming the game is playable. Obviously, if the game is broken, has bad control, is too difficult, etc., then players wouldn't be able to experience the story anyway. So what this means, ladies and gentlemen, is that with a single asterisk, I have completely and utterly destroyed any counter-argument to be made against my rule. Except for one. There is still one valid argument, and that is that a game is meant to be a game, not a novel or a movie. And I save this for last because it is undoubtedly the most difficult to prove. You can agree with everything I've said up to this point, and there's still a good chance I can't convince you of this. But I have one question to ask you. Why is Ocarina of Time the all-time most popular Legend of Zelda game? If this were an open forum debate, the first thing that someone would shout out, knowingly skipping the first thing that actually popped into their head, would be graphics. And my counter to that is, there have been dozens of games since Ocarina of Time with far superior graphics. The next thing that someone would shout out is soundtrack. Yes, it's true, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time does have a wonderful soundtrack, and again, it has been improved upon in every Zelda since, many having callbacks to previous Zeldas, such as Ocarina of Time, but almost every Zelda game has a callback to the original Zelda game, so your soundtrack argument is only relative based upon which era of the Zelda games you're talking about, the NES, N64, Super Nintendo, Wii, GameCube, etc., etc. The next thing someone would shout out would be, "It was the first Zelda game in a 3D world," or, "The dungeons were really cool, man." And for both of those responses, I refer you to the retort I gave the graphics guy. There are far better Zelda games with far better dungeons and far better 3D worlds. Which brings me to my final point, a point that actually can't be proven until many years in the future, but I'm willing to put my genius and intellectual credibility on the line because I'm so certain that I'm right. If all of these points are correct, with the graphics and the soundtrack and the 3D worlds and the dungeons, if all of those things are really the most important part of a Zelda game, then Breath of the Wild will surely be the next Ocarina of Time. For years to come, it will be widely regarded as a masterpiece, the best Zelda game ever. On December 18th, 2015, the first Star Wars movie in almost 10 years was released, Star Wars The Force Awakens. When the trailers first came out for The Force Awakens, everyone was so hype that nerdgasms could be heard around the world. And when people walked out of the theater that night seeing Star Wars The Force Awakens, Everyone was still super hype and washing nerdgasm off of their pants. But after they washed the nerdgasm off their pants, they realized that the movie was utter shit, and they were so hype and so let down. Now many people can't accept this reality, so they adamantly defend The Force Awakens. And then there are some retards out there, or Gungans as they're called in the Star Wars universe, that actually like the Disney Star Wars movies. If this were a courtroom debate, at this point the opposing side would say, "Objection, relevancy. Your Honor, Star Wars 7 has absolutely nothing to do with Breath of the Wild, and Breath of the Wild has absolutely nothing to do with why Ocarina of Time is a masterpiece." And I would retort with, both Star Wars 7 and Breath of the Wild fulfill a fanboy need, a need for more content. A need that is so great that all of the fanboys of the world are willing to turn a blind eye to an obvious fact to anyone willing to see beyond your nostalgia. That Breath of the Wild and Star Wars 7 are utter shit. And then the opposing side would say, "Objection, Your Honor. Counsel is making accusations that have yet to be proven." And then I would retort with, "No. In the heart of every true Star Wars fan, they know there is an element of The Force Awakens that is missing, that had it been there would have saved the movie. In the heart of every true Zelda fan, they know that Breath of the Wild is missing a crucial element that keeps it from being utter shit, and that is story. Story is the reason why Ocarina of Time is a masterpiece, and it is the reason why Twilight Princess is the best Zelda game of all time." Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it's the story that makes Twilight Princess so great. It's the story that makes the adventure so memorable and the action so impactful. Because it's not happening to a character in a game, it's happening to you, the hero of Twilight. It's your quest to save your friends, to save Zelda, to save Hyrule Kingdom, to save the world of Twilight. It's framed in such a way that it's your adventure. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that Twilight Princess was the first Zelda to do this. Hell, you could make the argument that Zelda 1 on the NES accomplished this to a certain degree. But that's where we get into the second part of crafting a story, and that is the cinematic camera. Take a guess which Legend of Zelda game was the first to use a cinematic camera to tell a cinematic story. If you guess the one that everyone believes to be the best Legend of Zelda game of all time, you'd be absolutely correct. This is essentially the first thing you see in the game. You slap in the cartridge, you start up your save file, and then you're greeted with this cinematic masterpiece. Okay, everyone, my name is Professor Purity Mean, and this is Cinematography 101. Okay, what are we looking at today? Okay, we're looking at the intro to Ocarina of Time. Okay, we're going to have a really dark intro. It's going to really grab the audience's attention. Okay, we're going to start with a wide shot of Hyrule Castle. It's going to be raining. It's going to be lightning. Drawbridge is going to be lowering. Okay, cut to a horse running. Okay, do the drawbridge again. It's going to be a close-up, but it's going to pan out slowly. Cue the slowliness. All right, then we're going to cut to a horse running away. White horse running away from the darkness. It's going to be symbolic and shit. All right, then we're going to do a slow zoom out, and we're going to see Link and the fairy, but the fairy first. Fairy is white, surrounded by darkness. That's very important, very symbolic. Okay, then we're going to do a cut to the horse running away, but it's going to be a tracking shot and panoramic shot at the same time. Tracking the horse, it's running to the left. We're going to see Link look at the horse. He's not sure what's going on. Then we're going to see Princess Zelda. She's scared. Something's going on. The white horse, purity and innocence and shit. All right, then we're going to look at Link, and he's turning around. He's surprised at something. What is he looking at? What is he looking at? What do we... Oh my god, it's Ganondorf. It's dark horse. Evil-looking dude. Okay, we're going to do some quick shots of Ganondorf from various angles, implying dominance and evilness, and then we're going to do a faraway pan in on Link, and it's going to be a zoom in. He's going to be surprised, and it's going to really grab the audience's attention. All right, great job, class. Let's go get some coffee. Like, you guys think I'm joking, but I'm actually dead serious. Look at this. There is literally lightning between these two characters, expressing conflict to you subconsciously. Look at this angle. I didn't edit this angle. This is the flat angle that it would have shown you on the TV. I mean, go back and watch that clip if you don't believe me. Look at how small Link is compared to Ganondorf. Look at how much space Ganondorf is taking up in the Rule of Thirds. Look at the 45-degree angle at which the ground is. Everything about this picture screams terror and fear, and you need to be afraid of this man, Ganondorf, the king of evil. So, what does Egorapter of Sequelitis have to say about this new cinematic camera?
Just because the game needs to be all epic and 3D whooshy whooshy because of all the graphics and polygons and all whatnot.
Oh. Okay. Well, what does Egorapter of Sequelitis have to say about Zelda Ocarina of Time's epic story that swept us all off our feet from a young age?
A book can tell you the main character's a hero with dialogue. A movie can too. But in a game you can feel it. You can experience it firsthand. You don't need dialogue. Why was the inclusion of so many semantics necessary?
Semantics? Egorapter, what the fuck? The story is not a semantic. Jesus Christ, dialogue, character development, world building. These things all enhance your experience, your short time in the world of Zelda. What the hell, man? I used to look up to you. This does not come as a surprise to me. I saw Egoraptor's Sequelitis a long time ago, and I found it entertaining. I found it enjoyable. I thought his arguments were very well constructed, and he had a lot of valid points. So I won't let something as petty as a disagreement over the quality of Ocarina of Time come between me and Egoraptor. He entertains me a lot. I love Game Grumps. But I absolutely will not forgive him for the positive things he has said about Metal Gear Solid V. That game fucking sucks, and the story is vacant, and it's not there, and it ruins what continuity Metal Gear Solid had, and it's the worst thing that ever happened to the Metal Gear Solid series ever. I'm so fucking triggered! This actually brings me nicely into my next point. You see, not too long ago, when Breath of the Wild was released, I saw it for what it was, utter garbage. And so I was taken by surprise when I saw so many people constantly calling it the best Zelda game ever. They were singing its praises, giving it tens of tens, left and right, all around. Even Egoraptor, who notoriously hates Zelda games, constantly sung this game's praises. I just assumed he was bought. But then I realized something. Something I don't think many fans of The Legend of Zelda have realized. We're all divided. We are all segregated based upon what we think is the best quality of a Zelda game. There are those who think gameplay needs to be the best quality in a Zelda game, such as Egoraptor. Those types of people's favorite games are Zelda 1, Zelda 2, A Link to the Past, and Breath of the Wild. But then you have people like me who think that the best quality in a Zelda game needs to be the story. We like Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, among others. One of the things that sticks out to me that Egoraptor said in his Sequelitis definitely holds true. Aaron, if you're watching this, I promise this is the last clip of yours. Please don't sue me.
And then, A Link to the Past. It was like the definitive Zelda, right? It felt like the first Zelda, but there was so much more. Bigger world, more things going on, it was nuts! My 8-year-old mind couldn't take it.
Huh, that's interesting. I think the same thing about Twilight Princess. So, if A Link to the Past is the definitive gameplay Zelda, then Twilight Princess is the definitive story Zelda. Zelda 1 is to Link to the Past what Ocarina of Time is to Twilight Princess. Both set the foundations for a magnificent structure of gaming accomplishment. I want you to think about all those things I said about Ocarina of Time's cinematic storytelling as you watch this next clip from Twilight Princess. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you've seen the timer on this video, and I'm afraid it is that time I must bid you adieu. But don't go too far. After all, this entire video has not been more than a prelude of what is to come. I still have a great deal of ZorZelda's footage to go through, and I'm not going to stop until I'm convinced I've created the perfect case for why Twilight Princess is the best Zelda game. But before I go, there is one last thing I'd like to point your attention to. Throughout this entire video, I've discussed the ins and outs of story, and I'd like to believe I made a good case for why story is the most important aspect of a video game. But why then is the word story nowhere to be found in the title? Well, ladies and gentlemen, because Twilight Princess's greatness doesn't stop at its story, it goes on, and so will I. Ha!